Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. It is Friday, March 15th, and Joe Biden, good old Joey, is still the worst president in American history. Patriots, it's so great to be back with you on this fine Friday morning. Y'all have survived another week of Joey in office. Another celebration is in the books because we are just 1 week closer to hopefully having Mr. 45, Mr. 47, Donald J. Trump back in office. We can only hope, folks. Well, as always, Fridays tend to be a shortened episode because it's the end of the news week and we're heading into the weekend. So let's kick it off here with our lead story. Tennessee Government Council is urging the legislature to give illegal immigrant kids legal status at 18. Look, this is nothing new. This is the Democrats' agenda. We know that they want to do this. Joe Biden said the quiet part out loud about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 at this point, where he said that he wanted to give everybody that's in the country illegally present time amnesty. That's not my words. That's his words. That's what he wants to do. That's their agenda. It's been their agenda because these people are going to turn into votes for them. And if they can't get the votes out of them, then ultimately they want them counted in the census so that gives them electoral votes, which is going to help them in the election. It's all about elections, folks. It's all it's about. It's about getting Democrats in office so they can sit there and drive this country right into the ground, which Joe Biden is doing a fabulous job of. At least that's what we can give him credit for, right, folks? We can give Joe Biden credit for running this country into the ground because he's doing it at an alarming rate. I mean, it hasn't even been a full term yet, you guys. And look how far he's just driven us and grinded us right into the ground. So it says here a Tennessee Government Council is asking the legislature, the state legislature to be specific, to give certain illegal immigrants taxpayer-funded college tuition payments, vehicle repairs, and legal representation. Folks, it's just you having to pay for somebody else consistently. Their college education. This is for other Americans as well. It's not even for illegal immigration. This part is, but just you shelling out money left and right for people's college. You're paying for other states' buildings. I mean, you name it. You are just shelling out billions with a B dollars for somebody else other than it going towards the whole good of American citizens as a whole. Here's the same issue with illegal immigrants getting free college. Now they're getting tuition payments as well, vehicle repairs, legal representation. They're getting hotel rooms, motel rooms. They're getting free meals. They're getting free laundry services. They're getting Xboxes, plasma TVs, couches, bedding, clothing, a revolving menu, shelter. They're getting rental assistance, $84,000 a year, which we covered in the past. I'm not saying whether I'm for or against that. I am literally just saying pure facts. We just rattled off everything that's taking place. It's up to you to decide if that's a good thing as a society that we keep offering handouts. The reason why I mention that is because if you look at our entitlement program and our social incentives, that makes up about 70% of our budget. That's what's also driving us into the ground. And it's something that we need to consider is can we keep sitting there and supporting everybody else other than ourselves? Can we continue to do that? The answer is honestly no, you can't. I mean, financially, just it's a mathematical problem. That's why I'm saying no. I'm a math teacher. No, it's not possible. You can't keep heading down this route and sustain yourself as a country, as a nation. You will crumble. You will destroy yourself from the inside out, which is why we wrote an entire book about it. The Tennessee Youth Transitions Advisory Council, oh, by the way, part of that is to give immigrants transition surgeries, by the way. We're also seeing that in the state of California. Created by the legislature to help the state with foster care, called in its annual report for the Tennessee General Assembly to consider giving legal status to illegal immigration children, or legal immigrant children rather, so that they could be qualified for extended foster care services. This means that illegal immigrants 18 or older would be given access to taxpayer-funded legal, educational, and health benefits currently only available to state citizens. If this is something it wants to implement, then my question is that why are those countries that are having people flee from their country into our country illegally not sitting there and footing at least some of the bill? That's my question. It's kind of similar to what Donald Trump said about NATO, is why is everybody trying to piggyback off America and not actually paying for defense, not actually paying for what they should be paying for? And so we're sitting there footing the bill, all the while they're getting like national health care or universal health care. They're paying for this or that because they don't have to pay for defense. They don't have to pay for anything because we have a lot of that already covered. So we're again paying for somebody else's stuff. It's constantly a theme here that you're noticing that we're shelling out our hard-earned money. We're working our ASSs off all the time, overtime, working 2 jobs. In my center, I work 3 jobs. You know, we're always paying for somebody else's stuff. Maybe you wouldn't have to work 2 or 3 jobs if we just paid for Americans' stuff and not other nations' stuff. You can pay for other people's stuff. People are going to need help, folks. I mean, it's called charity for a reason. We're the most generous country that's ever existed in the face of mankind. But damn, this is getting a little outrageous, don't you think? A little outrageous. Currently, youth who are undocumented upon being brought into foster care are granted special immigrant juvenile status while in care but not permitted to receive extended foster care services. The Tennessee General Assembly should explore options to rectify this discrepancy in treatment, including reclassification of these youth as qualified legal aliens. The question is that what does that happen to our money in terms of our system that's going to be fed into the system of which it's already being fed into? If giving them legal status, like, how does that change anything? Is that helping us in terms of monetary value? Is it not helping us? Are we going to give them more taxpayer dollars? Like, obviously, these children that are in these juvenile statuses, like, they're going to need help. I'm not saying, oh, just deport them. That's insane. But there has to be something that's better here other than just giving them legal status, kind of cutting the line. So, I'm not sure where we should stand on that one. They're going to need help regardless. But again, if you don't fix what's going on, then this problem's only going to be getting worse, and it's just going to be more taxpayer dollars going out the door. Again, we don't have the money. I know people don't want to hear that. We just don't have the money. We're putting everything on credit cards, folks. I'm not talking about individual level as Americans. I'm talking about our Congress. Congress has the biggest credit card I've ever seen and just keeps swiping it and swiping it. And states realize this. And so that's why we looked at Rand Paul showing the earmarks, the 6,000 plus earmarks in the budget that Joe Biden wants to unravel, where we're just spending money on frivolous stuff. Why? Because the states know that the federal government can print money. States can't print money. States actually have to budget so that they're evened out, unless you're California, where you have a $68 billion deficit. Go figure. Third largest economy in the world. California, as a state, still can't figure out its own budget. Why? Because Democrats run the show, folks. That's why. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. Democrats run the court. Look, wherever Democrats run, it's always usually going to be the answer when things go south. It's true. It's true. Well, anyways, the proposal to extend foster care services to illegal immigrants comes as Tennessee has faced criticism over a shortage of available beds for foster care children. God, why would that be? Why would they have that? Why are they running out of beds all of a sudden, folks? Why has it never really happened in history, but all of a sudden it's happening now? We know why. As well as reports that illegal immigrants released into the country by the Biden administration plan to make their way to the volunteer state. Okay. Free services would be available to illegal immigrant adults who came out of the foster care system if the General Assembly takes the council's advice. Those services can include, here we go, financial assistance for healthcare, tutoring, educational fees, driver's test fees, car insurance, car repairs, housing. I listed all these, did I not? You guys were like, that's a little outrageous when he's trying to throw in couches and bedding and cell phones and Xboxes. You all thought I was kidding. Yeah, I know you did. I know you didn't really believe me. I know you didn't. I know, but hey, Ball Brad does his research, folks. Doing this for a while now. Well, here you go. Household furnishings, household related fees, electricity, insurance, rental insurance, even child care assistance. How many of you get that for free? Oh, no, it's right there. You see it yourself right here. Yeah. Hey, you're paying up the wazoo for child care, but don't worry. Not only are you paying for your own child care, now you're paying for somebody else's child care too. In the same way, the state of California. No, we're not done. Oh, it's Friday. It's Friday, and I'm on one today. Not only are you paying for your own electricity bill, but now, regardless of you using a lot of electricity, hell, you could use no electricity, you're going to pay for somebody else's electricity bill too. That's the Democrat way, folks. You just paying for everybody else's stuff. That's how it works. It's called socialism. Yes. Oh, that's all it is. If you really want to break it down to its core, it's socialism. And socialism is theft. There's a reason why it's never worked. Democrats will tell you it has, like Bernie Sanders, bragging about Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, all these other places. Oh, socialism is always great. Oh, it works. The Waltons, it works. No, it doesn't, Bernie. No, it doesn't. You sound like Joe Biden. It doesn't work at all. You keep telling me it does, but it's never worked. You keep telling me it's never been tried, even though it's been tried over 100 times in 100 years. Still hasn't worked. Not good odds. Really not good odds. Where you look at capitalism in a democracy, in other words, a republic, and you look how the free market functions in a democracy and a republic, working out pretty good. It's working out pretty good. I'm not saying it's the best system. There is no perfect system out there that we've been able to find, but is the best system that mankind's ever created. Actually, it's pulled more people out of poverty than any other system. You can't say about socialism. You can't say that about communism, but somehow we keep teaching kids in the school system that those are good. Communism's not that bad. Wild. Want to know what's wild? This, you guys. It is. If we had a surplus, you wouldn't see me complaining as bad. I would still complain. People need help. I'm there. You got to help people. I'm a Christian. Okay. You got to help people. We don't have money. It's that easy. If you're broke, you have no money. Personal finance teaches you can't give money then. Why? What are you going to give? You don't have money. I know it's basic, but dude, it's insane. So here's the list. Here's the list. Oh, here we go. Post-secondary application fees. They're going to pay for your SAT, ACT, the GED, tutoring fees, educational fees, independent living class stipend. That's just reoccurring. Graduation package. You get yearbooks, membership, senior event-related transportation. So you get transportation now, materials, uniforms. You get job readiness training, job startup cost. You get your driver education stuff. You get car insurance paid for. You guys, this is just everything free. You just live for free. Transportation grant, you get your car repairs taken care of, housing related fees, you get tools, child care assistance, which all of you don't get, youth leadership stipend, there we go, placement services, household furnishings, bright future, state funded scholarship. I mean, Americans can't even get scholarships right now. Jim Casey Youth Opportunity Initiative, resource centers, case management. These are just to name a few. Just a few, folks. So again, what's the answer? We don't have money. We don't have the money, but we're just going to keep pretending like we do. Keep printing it. No, it's fine. It's astonishing. We keep printing money, right? We keep putting everything on credit, and then Joe's like, we're fine. I've lowered the deficit. How did inflation happen? Well, Mr. President, you pumped the economy full of trillions of dollars. You artificially inflated everything. You outcompeted the private sector. So now that everybody technically has more money because you just gave everybody trillions of dollars, the price of goods go up because people have more wages. Because you're outcompeting the private sector because of those wages, then even when you sit there and get rid of the wages that were being given by the government, people are going to go back to the private sector. The private sector had to compete with the government sector. And since the government sector outcompeted the private sector had to outcompete the government sector. So everybody had more money, which also inflated the economy. So the Federal Reserve had to come in and sit there and lower interest rates. Because they had to lower interest rates, it slowed the economy down. But now you're still fighting the long-term effects of giving everybody trillions of dollars. It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. People find it hard, but it's, Joe Biden, like, this ain't working. This isn't working. I told you I'm on one today, folks. It's Friday, so that's what's going on here. Hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Once again, we did a whole episode yesterday on governmental waste. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend it. That's a long episode. That one's over an hour long, folks. Well, in other news, we got Mark Green here blasting Mayorkas once again for stonewalling details on Lincoln Riley's alleged killer. Now, why would he stonewall details? Well, he hasn't done his job. He's a dereliction of duty that deserves to be impeached. Folks, it takes a lot for me to start talking about impeachment. Like, it really does. I don't just shout like impeachment to the skies, but he should be impeached for a dereliction. And Joe Biden too. Okay. If Trump was doing a dereliction of duty, wasn't executing the laws on the books, then sure, conversation about, impeachment there. But the thing is that they were going after him on impeachment for just anything. Like you see with him right now, the grand jury is just happening everywhere, right? All these indictments. And you have these libs coming out going, oh, he's been indicted 92 times, has 92 cases. Just because he could have 1,000 cases doesn't mean he's guilty. I mean, you can throw up charges anywhere. I mean, they do that in China. They do that in Russia. They just, no pun intended. They just give you Trump charges. I mean, they just make up stuff. So it doesn't mean you're guilty, but the libs don't understand that, right? These youthful kids don't understand the fact that just because you have 92 charges doesn't mean you did a damn thing. Anybody can accuse you of anything. Doesn't mean you did a damn thing. So that's what I mean. You can have all these charges. The dude doesn't pay a parking ticket on time, and he gets to sit there and has to go to he's prosecuted, grand jury, open up an investigation, right? It's all over the airwaves. It's insane. So Mayorkas hasn't been doing his job, and because he hasn't been doing his job, somebody got killed for it. It is that simple. It is that simple. You don't do your job, people die. So Mark Green reportedly blasted Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas for stonewalling, meaning he's not answering questions. And why? Why? Because, again, he's part of the problem. Details about an illegal immigrant accused of murdering Laken Riley, a 22-year-old Georgia student. Green, the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, wrote to Mayorkas in February 27 letter requesting Department of Homeland Security communications regarding the immigration proceedings of this Ibarra individual as Venezuelan national accused of killing Riley. Green told Breitbart News that DHS confirmed receipt of the letter and claimed it was a high priority, but the federal agency has now fallen silent. Of course they have. Folks, they fell silent on solving a major issue that's the number one issue for Americans, and that's the border. Whether you're for illegal immigration or not, it's still Americans' number one issue. That's not my opinion. It's just pure fact. It makes sense that if they fell silent on fixing the damn thing, then when you try to get information on why they haven't fixed it and what are the causes and ramifications of the very thing that they haven't fixed, of course they're going silent on the very thing that they went silent on in the first place. It's not a shock. I know we're treating it as if it's a shock because it's kind of BS when American taxpayer dollars are being spent in upwards of $1 trillion by the time Joe Biden's out of office, plus some. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. And the fact that they said, oh, we'll make it a high priority and then give you the middle finger is also frustrating, but still not shocking. Quote, it's unacceptable that DHS has failed to comply with a reasonable request. Of course. The documents and information that we have requested should be quite simple for DHS to compile and produce. But you got to understand, Mr. Green, it's an election year. And when you get this type of stuff that's going to make Biden and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas look bad, then of course they're going to sit there and stonewall you. They're going to put this at a snail's pace and maybe never get it to you until after the election when all this stuff comes out. And when immigration is still a massive issue, then it's going to be put on the shoulders of Mr. 45, who's hopefully going to be Mr. 47. Secretary Mayorkas has repeatedly claimed that parolee is being granted on a case-by-case basis per the law's requirement. But if that's true, DHS shouldn't have any trouble producing the documents verifying that in the matter of Jose Ibarra, who again was the gentleman that supposedly, I shouldn't call him a gentleman, but I'm trying to be careful here. The person who is being, accused of killing Riley. Okay, I'm being very careful for legal reasons, folks. This is the type of stonewalling we've encountered over and over again from the administration. It's time for DHS to be forthcoming. Riley went for a jog on February 22nd on the University of Georgia campus, with police beginning a search for her after she did not return home, where her body was found later in a wooded area after sustaining severe injuries to her skull. Ibarra was arrested and charged for the following day in connection to the murder. So this is the person that Joe Biden couldn't even say correctly, even though he looked at Marjorie Taylor Greene in the eyes and said, I know her name. I know how to say her name. No, you don't, Mr. President, because you messed it up. You called her Lincoln Riley. Well, as I mentioned, all the stuff surrounding illegal immigration, the end goal is about votes. Whether you're for illegal immigration, against illegal immigration, this is what it's for. Folks, this is not my opinion. This is coming from the Democrat Party themselves through their actions. Joe Biden once said he wants amnesty. That's not my words. That's his words. Not my opinion. That's just what he said. Furthermore, you have them voting against this bill that would not include them in a census and thus would not include them in kind of the electoral college in terms of figuring out how many electoral college votes somebody gets. So Democrats want that. They want all of them being pumped into the system so that the states outcompete the GOP in terms of the electoral college, and then they win elections. So you got the extreme case of Joe Biden just giving them amnesty, which first-time voters tend to be illegal immigrants in terms of when you give illegal immigrants voting status. So you're not going to have a sitting Republican in office for the rest of your life, probably, because there's 36 states in terms of population equivalent to illegal immigrants in this country. Meaning, there's so many illegal immigrants, they represent 36 states in terms of population. That's how many people are here. You're looking at 25, 30 million people. That makes sense in terms of why they want to be redistributed across the states to sit there and outcompete the GOP. So that's the mass level of giving them amnesty. The small level, again, is the electoral college side of things. And then you also have the taxpayer funded things and crippling cities. I mean, it just goes on and on. So I bring this election stuff up because we got election news here. RNC is suing Michigan Secretary of State over, what's that word? Is it? I can't read it. Inflated voter rolls. Oh, so we talked about this years ago. We talked about this, what election? Oh, the 2020. Like, God, man, how is it you only have like 100,000 registered voters, but like 150,000 voted in your state? Like, how is that possible? Like, what? Wait, what? That person died like 40 years ago. How the hell did they vote? Was Joe Biden talking to them again? Like, what's that person doing on the roll? Hey, that guy doesn't even live there anymore. He doesn't even live in the state. How's he voting again? Like, that's weird. And then you got these knuckleheads going on MSNBC, CNN. It's the fairest, cleanest, transparent election that's ever existed. Sure it is, buddy. Sure it is. Jesus. It wasn't. I'm sorry. Statistically, it wasn't the fairest and cleanest election. As I've mentioned, you guys, you can look at your voter rolls, like your registration rolls, and you can actually go to the properties and ask who lives there. The reason why I know this, people did it. That's how we know some of this was BS. They went to property after property. People weren't living there. There was, when I say property, sometimes there was no buildings on site. You were looking at it, you were either standing on a freeway in some cases, because freeways get built, or in some cases, it would just take you out into the desert. There, I mean, you would look, there is no building in sight. People were voting from those locations, according to the rolls. Wild, I know, but fairest and cleanest election, you guys. You should believe everything you hear on the news. They're out. The news is for you guys. The news isn't biased. What do you mean? What do you mean? We're biased here. I'm open about it. Oh, you got this on the right here. Blah, 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 blah. Of course I'm biased. I'm conservative Republican. I'm open about it. I got nothing to hide, folks. I'm not. Look, I'm not bought off here. Okay, you're getting an all-American patriot, baby. No different than you. Okay. Well, I guess a little different because I'm on the front lines here in California, and all of you are living in free America. God bless you. I'm not living in free America. I'm living in socialist America over here. So, sorry, I went off on a tangent. Okay, give me a break. Give me a break. You guys say you love my tangents and my rants, so I give you more of it. The Republican National Committee filed a lawsuit on Wednesday against Michigan Democrat Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, saying that her office has not maintained accurate voter rolls. God, why would you? Why would you? It worked last time. Why would you update them? Oh God. Why would you update all the dead people not on the rolls? Why would you update all the fact that people are fleeing Democrat-ran areas and going to red areas? Well, we know why. Oh, we know why. Oh, yeah. Folks, we got to be careful here on the tubes. Okay, we're going to get flagged and demonetized, and then we're going to get removed. We're getting shadow banned, you guys, okay? I have almost 51,000 subscribers. There's no way in hell that I have the same amount of views as I did when I had 1,000 subscribers, okay? Even if, let's just pretend even if I bought subscribers, you're telling me that I'm still going to have the same amount of views? If I bought subscribers, wouldn't that correlate to some increase in viewership? You know, 1,000, I was getting a couple hundred views. More than that. Some of my videos at 1,000, I had 40,000 views on some videos. Folks, okay? Doesn't make sense. And I think I'll do a video. I think I'll show you behind the scenes of what things look like. Folks, I'm a statistician. I don't know everything, but I know how to read data. Public accountant, reading data, okay? Private accountant, reading data. Tax account, reading data. Auditor, reading a data. I mean, it's more called assurance advisory accountant, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm not an idiot when it comes to reading data. Sometimes I am. I will call out that sometimes I'm just an idiot. But damn, I ain't an idiot on this one. I've even talked to YouTube about it. Go on another can here. Right, we're coming back. We'll bring it back here. Speaking of things that I can read data that seem a little foosery and a little off, happening right here. The RNC lawsuit says that Michigan's mismanagement undermines election integrity and allows ineligible voters to cast ballots. Shocker! Benson is accused of violating the National Voter Registration Act. Election integrity starts with clean voter rolls, and that's why the National Voter Registration Act requires state officials to keep their records accurate and up to date. A lot of states don't do this. A lot of states don't do it, and they should. I said we should have done this for a while. When I say that we need to clean up our voter rolls, you're an election denier. You're a threat to democracy. It's what these people say. I can't even get it out without laughing. You're a threat to democracy because you want democracy to run more efficiently by making sure that we have up-to-date voter rolls. How that makes sense, you guys, to the Democrats on what they say about us, about just because you want a clean and fair election for everybody, and now you're an election denier? I've tried to wrap my head around it, but look, their brains, this not working. It's not going to work, folks. It hasn't worked for a while. So according to the lawsuit, at least, this is insane, 53 counties in Michigan have more active registered voters than adult citizens. Cleanest and fairest election. Nothing to see here. No reason to look under the hood. Just let's make sure we shut down all the security cameras, okay? Tape up the windows so you can't see us counting the ballots. So that we can sit there and put in John Smith here, Richard Dawson here. Dude's been dead for 50 years. Guy voted freaking for Eisenhower back in the day. Somehow he's voting for Joe because Joe and Eisenhower are roughly the same age right now. God damn, man. It's tiring. It's tiring because Democrats don't want to do anything about it. If there's a lib in here that says that Democrats want to do something about it, why haven't they? Well, Republicans don't want to do anything about it. Really? Because they're the ones suing them. You don't think that there's Republicans in Michigan? You don't think that there's Republicans that are going to be affected by this? Republicans sit there and lie too. Okay, Republicans pull shenanigans as well. Democrats just do it more. Oh, outlandish! Election denier, you MAGA supporter, you threat to democracy. Really? Well, then whatever. The fact that I want a clean and fair election for all, if that makes me an election denier, a MAGA supporter, well, I am a MAGA supporter, but a threat to democracy, republic, whatever, man. Whatever. Okay? At least I know one of us has her head on straight, and I'll tell you what, it ain't you, my friend. It's me that has it on straight. So the suit also said that 23 counties have voter registration rates over 90% of eligible adult registered, which is far above the national average state rate. Again, reading data. I know how to read data. And Democrats don't know how to read data. Maybe they do, and they just want to sit there and lie about it. But when you have inconsistencies, it should raise alarm bells for all of us. We did that as auditors. Hey, why's your revenue peaked? Like, what's going on here? Hey, just a heads up, this customer represents over 10% of your sales. You probably want to flag that because if that person goes under, you just lost 10% of your sales right there on the spot. We should probably flag this and make it a disclosure and also awareness for you as well as everybody else that possibly could be investing in your company is let the banks know because you're trying to pull out a loan right now. So it's just understanding things and correlating it from years prior and going, man, this looks a little weird. So the suit also says the RNC and its members are concerned that defendants' failure to comply with the voter list maintenance obligation undermines the integrity of elections by increasing the opportunity for ineligible voters or voters intent on fraud to cast ballots. If you recall, we just did a show showing that 21% illegally voted from places that don't exist. 21% voted on behalf of somebody else. They filled it out for somebody else. You guys, they ran the data and said that if you took all the numbers into account of what's going on, Donald Trump won 2020. I know people don't want to hear it, but the facts are the facts. The man would have won statistically. Now, would you have to do a forensic audit and look at everything? Of course, we could be wrong, but based on that study, at least, Donald Trump should be in office right now. We wouldn't be in this mess that we're in. Michigan's impossibly high registration rates, large rates or inactive registered voters, low numbers of address confirmations, shocker, and low numbers of removals indicate an ongoing systemic problem with its voter list maintenance effort violates federal law and jeopardizes the integrity of the state's upcoming elections. They don't care. Democrats don't care. That's why I said, you guys, get prepared for some foosery going on here. Even if Trump wins, there was still going to be foosery. And should Trump sit there and go, I want better integrity in our elections? Yes, he should. And he should sit there and make sure that the executive branch makes sure that states like Michigan and others clean up their registration ballots, their rolls, all that stuff. So we'll see what comes of it. It's a good move by the RNC to do this. Well, let's get towards some of the end news today. This one's wild, folks. We're going to do this one really quickly. I thought this was going to be a short show. We're going on almost 30 minutes, folks. If you're enjoying hanging out, I always say this, I'm going to do a short show Friday. Nobody really watches on Friday. You know, it's the end of the week. Everyone's tired and all that other stuff. You know, they're out partying, whatever. It ends up being 45 minutes to an hour still. I can't help it. I love hanging out with you people. You're great, true American patriots. If you're enjoying it, if you're having fun with me, if you're having fun with the community, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below, folks. Let me think. Here's the question that you can put in the comment section. The question is, do you think the voter registration rules are legit in Michigan? Yes or no? Easy. Easy. It does support the show. It does. So UC Berkeley parents are raising $40,000. Just let this one sink in when we get there. Okay? Let this one sink in. They're raising $40,000 to hire private security guards to temporarily patrol the campus at night. Folks, you're already paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to UC Berkeley. And now you're paying more money to get a service that should already be provided, meaning safe living on campus. Because in some of these universities, you're required to live on campus your first year. So not only paying up the wazoo, now you're paying more, but it's Democrat ran. There's libs. UC Berkeley is known to have libs just surrounding and inside that freaking area. So concerned parents calling themselves safe bearers have raised $40,000 to pay for security guards or safety ambassadors to patrol the UC Berkeley campus area for a few weeks in early March. Now, it's only going to happen for a few weeks because you only have $40,000. UC Berkeley may be one of America's most prestigious schools, but its location in California Bay Area, Democrat ran by the way, has parents and students both wary of safety on campus, meaning sometimes you have nice universities in the midst of rough areas. Very similar to USC, where I got my master's degree from. USC is a really nice school, but it is in a garbage area in Los Angeles. A group of safe bearers, again, are doing all of this. They're paying for this stuff. So it goes on here to say a group of called safe bearers and touts itself as a comprising of 1,300 plus Cal parents and community allies working to improve safety for UC Berkeley students has worked to solve the problem themselves, hoping their prototypical program of patrols around campus will inspire the college to make more action themselves, or take more action rather. So the insane thing, again, you're paying for all this money for education, and now you have to pay more money just to get safety for your kids to go to school because you Democrats vote in like Prop 47 with these smash and grabs, or you sit there and turn these crimes into misdemeanors, a slap on the wrist, and then you wonder why people are being assaulted, tourists, citizens, being assaulted by homeless, immigrants, other Americans, hell, everybody, and they can't wrap their head around like, oh God, why are businesses fleeing? Why are they getting out of Democrat-ran areas? Oh my God, they must be bigoted. They must not care about us. It's racism. They're fleeing because it's racism. No, they're fleeing because of the crime and the liability that goes into that. This has been going on for hundreds of years. This is, you could literally read about this in any book, Economics 101 by Henry Hazlitt, or read any Thomas Sowell Economics 101. Like you could read, or even you learned about it in high school. This is how you carve out inner cities, is you have high crime. People don't want to create a business in high crime areas. People don't want to live in high crime areas, so they don't move into it. And so you end up carving out that inner city that has high crime because the businesses that were already established there before there was high crime, and when it moved into high crime, ended up fleeing and getting out of Dodge because they couldn't cover the liability of the very crime that's happening in that area. So that's how you carve it out. And it only hurts the low income people who can't afford to sit there and move. And then they sit there and shout racism because people are leaving, or bigotry. It's not racism or bigotry. It's just evolution of how people are going to sit there and adapt to the climate of which they're existing in. And if they don't like the environment that they're existing in, they don't choose to adapt in that, then they're going to adapt by moving to a different place of which they can be successful and prospering without having to deal with the crime. But Democrats can't figure that out, you guys, because it's so much easier to blame somebody else for somebody else's issues than it is to blame for your own issues. It's easier. It's easier to have somebody else pay for your bills than you to actually get up and start working multiple jobs to pay off your own bills. It's easy for somebody to pay for your child care, your electricity, your food, your retirement, like everything. It's just easier to do that route. Democrats love it. Democrats absolutely love it because Democrats love socialism. And socialism is theft. Just because you have a job and somebody else doesn't, you are benefiting. You are more prestigious over them for some ungodly reason. And so you have to have money taken out of your wallet, not going into your kid's education, not going into your grocery bill, but no, it's going into somebody else's education and somebody else's grocery bill. You're damn right I'm on a tangent because it's frustrating, folks. It's frustrating. We're all trying to have better lives here. We're all trying to help and move up the system, okay? Just because I have this on YouTube, I've always said this. I'm not better than any of you guys. I'm an average Joe here. I work multiple jobs. I work my butt off. I work hard. And my hard-earned money is not going to benefit other Americans. It goes to benefit places like Ukraine, Israel, the Palestinians. It goes to Hamas. It goes to the Iranians. It doesn't go to people like you that might need it, or look, as I've always said, if we weren't sending out billions everywhere, then sure, give money to these institutions so we can make America the best place ever. But it's not. It's not. In the same way here, you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit there and fight crime that should be sit there and fought on the taxpayer dollars. But because Democrats want to run your city into the ground, now you're paying additional money just to keep your kids safe during their college education. So they're hiring private security at the end of the day. So that's what's going on there. Our last bit of news here is you got Bernie Sanders unveiling bill to implement a 32-hour work week. So speaking of working hard here, folks, I don't have an opinion on this yet. I haven't meditated on it long enough to have one. It sounds really good, but I want to go over the pros and cons with you of a 32-hour work week. So Bernie Sanders, who it says he's an independent, this guy is a socialist. And it's not me saying, at some point I'm going to get done saying this, but a lot of the stuff that I say, you guys, isn't like, well, that's just your opinion, man. Well, that's just your opinion. It's your opinion that 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed through the border. No. What I feed you guys is just other articles that we've covered in the past in the current article that we're covering now. So when I say Bernie Sanders is a registered independent, that is a fact. When I say he's a socialist, that is a fact. He calls himself a Democrat socialist. That's just a socialist. Just because you put the word Democrat in front of it doesn't change the fact that you're a socialist. You're just a socialist. You're just trying to soften the blow of it because it looks bad, the fact that you're already calling yourself a socialist. You understand that it looks bad that you're calling yourself a socialist, so you call yourself a Democrat socialist, which again, is just a socialist. It's just to try to soften the blow. Well, here he introduced a bill on Wednesday that would shave 8 hours off the standard 40-hour work week that has been around for several decades. So basically, you're just removing a day and giving people a 3-day weekend. It says a summary from Sanders said the legislation called for the 32-hour Work Week Act would amend the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 by lowering the maximum hours threshold for overtime compensation for non-exempt employees. The bill would require overtime pay at time and a half for workdays longer than 8 hours and overtime pay at double at workers' regular pay for workdays longer than 12 hours, the summary said. It would also protect workers' pay and benefits to ensure no loss in pay. Now, that might all be fine and dandy. I don't see really too much of a problem with that. Moving to a 32-hour work week with no loss of pay is not a radical idea. For American society, it is, though. I'll give them that. For American society, it is a radical idea. For the rest of the world, I could see that it doesn't seem so radical. They did studies long time ago. I mean, hell, this had to be, you're talking even before 2007, so you're talking maybe in the early to mid 90s. Americans were asked the question, and I can't remember the study, but Americans were asked the question of, if you had to choose, would you take a lot of vacation days or would you just want to end up working more days? And the answer was that Americans did not want to take more vacation days, believe it or not. Americans resoundingly want to work more. Americans are just workhorses. That's what we do. That's our life. That's our culture. We end up working. Whereas other countries, they work and then they also have just a ton of vacation time. But that's also why we're a powerhouse of a country, is because that's what we do, is we work hard. So I just find it interesting, again, that hasn't really shifted much. It maybe has, and I'd be curious to see if there's a new study on that type of question of, would you rather work 32-hour weeks and then get that 3-day weekend? I don't know. Again, we'll go over the pros and cons in just one moment. I just kind of want to lay out what he's talking about here, because it's kind of fascinating. It's interesting. Today, American voters who are over 400% more productive than they were in the 1940s, and yet millions of Americans are working longer hours for lower wages than they were decades ago. That has not changed. Well, that's interesting because we were told wages are higher than ever. And one of the things that like Sam Seeger talks about, you also have Destiny, just got done explaining with Candace Owens, is that Americans are more productive than ever. And everybody touts that wages have gone up, not in the same level as productivity. But as I mentioned, there's a reason why American workers are over 400% more productive. They're making it seem like somehow us as like human beings have become more efficient. In some ways we have, but what they leave out is the aspect of what? Technology. A lot of these people, these leftists, will sit there and push, well, we become more productive, but our wages haven't increased in the same as our productivity. Well, that's because technology was instituted, and that technology has made your productivity better, but also it has made it easier for you to be more productive. Maybe there's some sort of machine that you're pushing a button for that's doing things at alarming rates than you doing it by hand physically, but they don't take that into account because nobody wants to think that way. He added the financial gains from the major advancements in artificial intelligence, automation, and technology, must benefit the working class, not just corporate CEOs and wealthy stockholders on Wall Street. But it is benefiting the working class. It's making your job easier. It's less labor intensive. You're going to have less medical bills because it's less labor intensive. And also, it benefits the CEOs because the CEOs invested in that very technology that allows them to prosper. And by the way, you're also benefiting because of the fact that you accept the contract and you sign on the dotted line for whatever wages you're working for. I can complain about my wages, but I signed for it. So at some level, I shouldn't be complaining because I'm deciding to work for a certain wage. Whether I agree with the wage or not, that's not the topic of conversation. The topic of conversation is you still have a job. You're making more money than you would by not having the job in the first place. Could you maybe get a different job somewhere else and getting paid more? Yes, but that's up to you to go to that very job of which you think you're going to get paid more to get paid more. So it's just easy to they just complain. Oh, well, God, I'm more productive because the technology is better that my employer invested in the very technology that's making me more productive. Go figure. It is time to reduce the stress level in our country and allow Americans to enjoy a better quality of life. It is time for the 32-hour work week with no loss in pay. That's going to be a tough gut punch, folks, because now you're working less, but the labor costs are going to increase because he wants you to get paid more for ultimately working less. He just got done complaining about the wages not being up, folks. So if the wages aren't high enough, and you're already working 40 hours a week. Now you want people to work less but get paid more is basically what he's talking about. As a chairman of the Senate Committee of Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, he held a hearing on the bill Thursday. The legislation has the support of several labor unions and a companion bill in the House, which was introduced by Mark, was that Tecano? I don't know his name. He's a Democrat of California. Makes sense. It's all Democrats doing this stuff. As polls show a high level of support for a hypothetical 4-day work week, there has been a push at a state level, and this is true on a state level, and also even a corporate level. Some corporations have tried a 32-hour work week, by the way, in places such as Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, to give the 32-hour model a try. Now, I'm not against people giving it a try and kind of seeing what are the pros and cons of it. Companies and other countries have already begun to move in that direction, with data showing some positive results. Now, why are they able to do this? Again, because the technology has increased production so much, not from a labor standpoint, in some cases it has, but again, in a technological manufacturing machinery standpoint, is that maybe you could pull this off and still keep the same type of numbers in terms of sales and revenue that you were seeing at a 40-hour work week in a 32-hour work week. However, not everyone's on board with this legislation being processed by Sanders. You got Bill Cassidy saying a 32-hour work week for 40 hours of pay is one example of the federal government promising free money. Nothing is free. I don't know if I agree with that, because I don't know what he means by the federal government promising free money. The only conclusion I can get to is the fact that, again, you're getting paid for 40 hours when in actuality you're working 32 hours. So that free money's being free for that 8 hours of work that never existed in the first place. It would kill jobs and increase inflation. There is some truth to that. The question is how much? Like, how much is it going to kill jobs? How much is it going to increase inflation? So I'm going to give you, let's go over the pros first, and then I'll go over the cons. So here's some pros. It would improve the work-life balance, some are saying. It would reduce stress. You spend more time with your family. It's not the government or Netflix or TikTok or Disney Plus raising your kids. You're going to be raising your kids because you're going to have more time at home with them. That should at least lower the cost of, daycare and things like that for the American worker. You spend more time on hobbies, rest, therapy. You won't have as much burnout, they're saying. We don't know for sure, you guys. It's never been really implemented in a long-term study, so we're not quite sure. They're showing some benefits, like Microsoft did this a little bit, showed some benefits. Microsoft still had a 40-hour work week, but what they did was they made each day 10 hours. So Monday you work 10 hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 hours each, 40 hours, and you get Friday off, as well as Saturday and Sunday. And they actually saw productivity go up. The thing is, that's more of a short-term study, so we don't know if that productivity is going to stay. Like, it's going to plateau at some point. It has to, right? So we don't know if it's going to go up and when it's actually going to plateau, or if it's going to go up, plateau, and then drop, and productivity is actually going to go down. We don't know yet. Again, we need more long-term studies on this stuff. But Microsoft and other companies have gave 40-hour work weeks in 4 days a shot, and I kind of like that idea. I don't mind working 10-hour days. Like, what's an extra 2 hours, right? I'll go in an extra hour early and leave an extra hour later if I get a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. I don't mind that personally. Some people would, but I wouldn't. Increased productivity. Studies have suggested that shorter work hours can lead to increased productivity, which we mentioned. You also get some health benefits out of this. I don't know if I fully agree with this in an American standpoint, where potentially reducing healthcare costs and absenteeism and just people living healthier lifestyles because they have that extra day. I don't know if that would be true. I'd love to see the studies on that. Again, I don't know if we have them, but Americans, we're just unhealthy, and I love America. I love Americans, but that is truth. We're the most obese nation that's ever existed. So just because you have an extra day off, are you going to spend that time exercising, or are you going to spend that time on your, watching TV and doing some other thing? Environmental benefits. I'm not going to bother going over that one. It's ridiculous. Economic equality. I'm not so sure about that. They're talking about the living standards of the working class. Again, a lot of this is just kind of hypothetical pros. We don't really have actual proof for it. Here are the cons. Increased costs for employers. Again, you're paying somebody 40 hours to work 32 hours. You have an increase in labor costs, right? When you have an increase in labor cost, that's going to get passed down to somebody else. And when it gets passed down to somebody else, you increase the standard of living for everybody else in your area. That's why you see places like California have $15 minimum wage, or like San Francisco, where a closet is like $3,000 a month to live in. So that standard of living is different from locality to locality. Well, that's because of certain impacts on labor costs, the taxes that are being introduced in the locality, and that's what's going to happen here. Increased cost of labor, which is increasing inflation, which is Bill Cassidy's argument right there. You have impact on small businesses. Small businesses in particular might struggle with the financial and operational adjustment required to accommodate 32-hour work week. Well, again, It's, we're thinking of 32 hours, but what's going on in the rest of the world? So let's just pretend like we work Monday through Friday. Well, the rest of the world is still working on Friday. So what do we do in that element of you working in a corporation that's not just a domestic corporation, but it's a global corporation? And now Bernie Sanders wants you to get time or time and a half. And how does that roll over with people that are salaried? Are salaried employees still going to be expected to work 32 hours, but in reality, they have to work 40 because they still need to do business with everybody else because they signed contracts, they did certain things, and productivity needs to stay the same, especially in these companies that are public, because you meet the demands of the shareholders, and the shareholders want to continue to make more money, just like all of us who are shareholders in a lot of companies based on our retirement, our 401k package. Inflation concerns, workload management. You also have industry variability, which is what I was just referring to. So what I mean by that is, folks, you got people that are in healthcare, you got people in law enforcement, manufacturing, right? You got round the clock operating costs. So if there's nobody there and you're having to increase these numbers, I mean, it can be detrimental. Again, I'm not giving a full-fledged opinion because I haven't seen really the data of the long-term effects of all these things. It's kind of like the idea of minimum wage. Is minimum wage in the 70s, when you watch Thomas Sowell in the 70s do his debates, there's a lot of these guys going, oh, well, you know, I don't believe it's going to have long-term ramifications. And they've already had minimum wage studies done even in the 70s. And Thomas Sowell's looking at this individual going, well, how long do you need to see the long-term ramifications of the negative effects and even the positive effects of increasing minimum wage? And the guy goes, well, I'll probably need 20, 25 years. Well, if you look 20, 25 years after, the guy was wrong. Thomas Sowell was right. He was right because the studies were already there in the 70s, and the guy just used it as a scapegoat for himself because he kind of shellacked at the debate that it would have been beneficial 25 years down the road, and it's been the same. So that's not in favor or against minimum wage. That's just purely what Thomas Sowell was talking about. And in something like this, we haven't seen the long-term effects of what a 32-hour work week is, so we'll have to see what the ramifications are. I'm not against it if it's a good thing. Like, if there's a lot of pros for it and pros outweigh the cons and we're all good, then hey, more power, you know? More time for me to spend some time with you American patriots on the Ball Brad Show, baby. So there you have it, folks. Friday. Damn, almost. Hey, I'm not exaggerating. I was like, I'm gonna do a 20-minute show. We'll get through these articles pretty quick. It's not too long. 50 minutes. We're going on 50 minutes. Hey, I hope you're still with me, folks. You get what you pay for. You get quality entertainment from this guy. Look, I try my best here, folks. I'm not saying it's the best production. Hopefully one day we can sit there and soup this bad boy up and make it something insane. Super sane. But I appreciate you nonetheless. We got a lot of new subscribers joining in from our shorts. Folks, 95% of my subscribers, maybe even more than that, come from shorts. And again, as I mentioned, we have shorts on YouTube where I've gotten like 6,000 subscribers from. So it makes sense why our viewership for our show is low. The frustrating thing is that based on the analytics of my watch time with all of you, my click-through rate, the retention, you would think that this stuff would be getting pumped out there still to all 50,000 subscribers, whether they got on board because of the shorts or not. So that's the frustrating thing for me, is my analytics look pretty decent, that those that want to watch the show tend to stay all the way through and they enjoy it. But the problem is that YouTube is not sending my videos out there to everybody. And you guys look, the people that are members, you guys pay money and YouTube is still not notifying you. Jerry just the other day mentioned that. Like, he has to actually go through his notifications. Some of you have been unsubscribed. So you got to understand that we're fighting something here, and YouTube is not acknowledging the fact that we're fighting something. So I want you guys to understand what, I'm going through, but I understand what you're going through if your comments aren't working. Andy, my buddy, it still won't let him post comments. He gives me screenshots all the time like, hey, dude, I just watched your Candace Owens video. I loved it, but I can't even leave you a comment. And he takes a screenshot that says comment like denied. So this has been going on, you guys. I just want to understand it. And maybe we'll, again, do a video of just how I believe, and we've done this in the past, how I believe we're being shadow banned here on the show, because it doesn't make sense. YouTube has given me the runaround. Again, their answers constantly, well, you only have less than 5% of your subscribers with notification bells. So I actually asked them, I said, hey, well, is there any way that you could just turn it on for everybody? And then they could just turn it off on their own? At least they're being notified and they could choose to actually turn it off. A lot of people don't know how the notification bell works. So I'm going on another rant here. It's just frustrating as hell, because you put a lot of work into the show. I'm a one-man person and working multiple jobs, and I want the show to do well, but you're not even giving it a chance, you know what I mean, for people to see it and letting them decide, hey, I'm not into it. Like, you should have at least 10,000 people seeing my thumbnail, because that's only 20% of my subscribers. Then I'm not even getting a fraction of that. So I'm going on a rant here, folks, but it is frustrating, but I appreciate you supporting me as we have this uphill climb, this uphill battle with YouTube, and it's going to be that way until you know, maybe we get on board with like the Blaze or some more sort of outlet that has a connection here where other patriots are already flocking, and now they can flock to the Bald Brad Show. But thank you so much. I know you guys send this stuff to Facebook and Reddit and all that other stuff. I really do appreciate your support. You guys are, you're patriots, baby, and you help me out a lot, and I appreciate that. With that being said, have a lovely weekend. We'll be back here tomorrow for the Bald Brad Show. Shorter clips, remember, on the weekend, more like 8 to 12-minute videos. And then we will also be on Spooky Adventures, our second channel, going over the ghosty, wosty paranormal stuff and maybe looking at more UFOs, because UFOs is, you know, going super sane. So with that being said, folks, thank you so much. God bless you. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show.